Okay, good morning. I wanted to share a video of me making a histogram. Keep in mind that with all of this Excel stuff, there's like 4 or 5 platforms I've seen. This is a Windows um, Excel app platform. So the browser-based one is different. The Mac one is slightly different. We'll just have to work through the kind of unique things of your application one at a time. But this will give you the basic steps. So I'm trying to graph a histogram. And really the first question is, why am I making a histogram and not just a regular bar chart? And I hope that that answer occurs to you as you kind of look at the data here, like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of data points. And these are essentially discrete data because there's no decimals that can't take any value. These are ages of people, but I'm up in the 900s here, which is similar to your Ivy Tech age data. So the first thing I would do is, just from an organizational standpoint, I would just get this sorted, sort of smallest to largest. Okay, so here I am, list of ages of people using a certain app. 25 looks like the lowest number. And just so I'm aware, I can scroll down then to the bottom and see what is the biggest number. 90 is the biggest number. Okay. So we need to cover, you don't need to type these steps out, but I'm just saying this to be clear. We need to cover from 25 to 90. So the problem with the bar chart is if I wanted to cover 25 to 90, I would have a 25 bar and a 26 bar and a 27 bar and a 28. That's a lot of bars. So what I do is I create bins that will cover a range. So my bins might go from, say, 25 to 29, 29, sorry, 30 to 35. There's a way to write this using fancy interval notation, which would be like 25 comma 30 parenthesis, and that signifies that I'm including 25, but I'm not including 30. This is not really that important, especially since I'm using discrete data. I can say 25 to 29, 30 to 34. I want to keep the bins consistent. So I'm going to start on the multiple of 5, and I'm going to go up 4 more values. So I'll just do it this way because we don't need to be super fancy this morning. 50 to 54, 55 to 59, 60 to 64. I don't think Excel is smart enough to autofill this. Let's see. No, they're not. Undo that. Worth a shot. Excel's pretty smart, but not like super smart. 80 to 84, 85 to 89, 90 to 94. Okay. And now what I need to do is start counting and putting things into bins. So there's various ways I can do that. There's actually a COUNTIF function I could write. It gets more complicated as I go though. So I'm just going to use the selector tool. I'll show you the COUNTIF just for the first part. So I'm going to do this range, the whole of A, and I'm going to say, actually, it's been a while since I wrote this. Let's see, less than 30. And let's see if it likes that. It says 180. I could be right. Now I'm going to use my selector tool to find out. So I'm going to start at 25 and I'm going to drag down. I'm just selecting. And I need to go up until I hit 29. 30 is too far. 29, 29, 29, 29, 29. Bam, right there. So the count is 180. You could also see it on my, I let go now of the selector. So, and I don't want to click again because then the selection is going to go away. But down here, you can see an average count in the sum. So the count is 180. That's the piece of information I wanted. And in fact, I did write the formula correctly. The reason we can't just keep doing this like less than 35, less than 40, is just because then it will be a cumulative frequency, not just the frequency in the bin. So then I'd have to subtract out the ones that came before, or the cumulative frequency before. It's a little complicated. If you want, I can help you write it if you're kind of excited about using Excel to its full purpose. So I need to do that for each one. And I'm going to keep going here. Next one started at 30, 30 to 34, It's not quite as long. Here, 192, it looks like. Scroll up, put it in 192. Okay. I need to get down to 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. Here it is. 40 to 44. Whoop. This feels a little low tech. It is. We've got a lot of data, and it would be definitely better to have the computer kind of run through and do the calculations. But there's almost always in tech and in life multiple ways to solve a problem. So we're just going to keep going here. 119. We're almost at the end, actually. 119. I know it doesn't look like it. Uh-oh, what happened? Did I forget to put a number in? 40 to 44. Was 7. Uh-oh. Did I have a double up? 35 to 39. It's one thing I would say while I'm doing all of this is 182. I think I did write that down. That a part of math and a part of doing this work is just being careful and like paying attention. I was doing some quadratic equation work with my daughter the other day, and it's like she knew how to do it all, but she just like her level of care is low. And so it's just constantly making little errors. And math is pretty unforgiving about that. It's like if you want to get the right answer, you have to pay attention. And if you're not paying attention, you're more likely to make a mistake. And it's useful to think about how to double check things. For instance, at the end of this process, how would I know that I haven't miscounted a single category? Leave that question hanging. 9, 43. These numbers are getting smaller. 60 to 64. It's faster to use this little scroll bar than it is to kind of mouse down. So that's a 25. Little piece of advice. Yep. 65 to 69. So it's getting really short. 14. I could probably do 2 in a row if I can hold that number in my head. 70 to 74, 75 to 79, 70 to 74. I got 10, 75 to 79. I got 6, 10, 6. I know the last one is 1. 80 to 84, 3, 0, 1. Okay. So did you come up with an idea? How could I check to make sure this is right? I have 2 ideas. The first one is how many are there here? And so I could use the count tool and just count everything in A. Of course, that's 1 extra because I think it's 1 extra. Let me just double check. Count. This is 3 things, right? Okay, so it's not counting this, which is nice. So count is just counting how many numbers there are. There's 2 in the selection I made here, which means there really are 994 values in this, which is actually the same as your Ivy Tech data because I used the Ivy Tech data to create this data. So if I look at the sum here, it should be 994. Thank goodness. The other way, sort of less secure, but gives you a different perspective is talk to the person next to you. Did they get the same result because they used the same data? All right, histogram time. So actually, this is the same process. I'm going to make a bar chart here. And I've got my information here. Notice I just selected the data and I inserted this graph. I do need to add my chart elements, axis titles, horizontal, vertical, and I want to change all three of those things. And the most important part to make this a histogram is to make the bars touch. So I select one of these. There may be a default sort of chart style up here, but the fancy way to do it is to go to the format data series. So I have to click on a bar, go to the data series. You see this gap width selector down here. I can set it to 0, and now I'm talking about a histogram. So the histogram looks a lot like a bar chart. Two key differences to look out for: the bins instead of individual bars. So we're not looking at one data point and saying how much is the frequency for that data point. We're saying here's a range of values, how many things fell into that range. And then the second part is visuals, that they're touching each other, and that's significant in terms of the x-axis having this continuous feel of we're going from 25 to 90, and we're chopping it into bins. So at this point, I'm going to change this. This is going to be my age distribution for men's app. I'll put this one. What does this represent? This is the number of people in certain range. And then this one is going to be an age range. I don't need that. Okay, so now I've built a beautiful graph. I'm ready to take it to the team and show them what I've learned, which is that for the most part, the app users are in this kind of solid block of 25 to 45. This just extra bonus information. This is called a distribution. One of my favorite distributions is one of my favorite distributions is income distribution. Let's go ahead and do this, since this is the country we live in. And let's go to images. And you can just use any one of these pictures, but you kind of see the same shape here. One of the things that's interesting about the distribution of income is that in terms of making this a histogram, okay, what's happening? Let's open the glittery guy. It's not a real thing. Okay, I'm gonna let this Wikipedia. That's a real website. Okay. So this data is a little bit old now, but it's similar. So you've got the bars touching each other. You've got the bins, right? And it makes sense. You're looking at households. There would be so many different incomes and individual bars. Doesn't make any sense. So we create bins to put groupings of households in. At the end, they kind of gave up, right? All of these are going in $5,000 bin sizes. But at the end, it's like, okay, 200 to 250 and then 250 and over. And the reason is that if we really kept going by 5,000s, the bars would get minuscule, disappear, and it would go, I don't know, several miles off to the right. So that would be hard visually. So then that's why they kind of cheated at the end and put these like that. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. Hope that helps with the histogram. Don't be afraid of the word histogram. It sounds kind of frightening. It's very important for your milestone. I'm going to go ahead and get this posted so that you can have this as a resource.